So some of this you'll be reasonably familiar with already. Slightly different kind of angle. So, what makes us different from a rock? Well, according to scientific materialism, it's all just physics, But on a very kind of practical level, is what makes us different from inanimate objects is that we have the ability to experience. And that experiences are personal, subjective experiences. All experiences are personal and subjective, meaning it's just you that feels them. It's just you that has the experience. So, if we just sit quietly and observe our mind for a little while. So please don't meditate, just observe your mind. Just observe. Can you see if there's something going on in your mind? Is there just this like unceasing flow of experiencing, all kinds of things like, is your tummy upset? Are you worried about something? Memories, So is there an unceasing flow of experience? And you might notice that every time you perceive something, it's rapidly followed by a new perception. The new perception displaces the first one. The first one stops. And then the new one does exactly the same thing. The new one is displaced by a previous one, and it stops. And on like this. Is that how it is? See, this is like about seeing reality. It's not about some kind of belief system or, Is that how it is, Is that how your mind is, And it might dawn on you that if any of these perceptions were really, really real, that wouldn't happen to them. Do you understand? They wouldn't just disappear like that. If they had some kind of reality of their own, if these perceptions had some reality of their own, they wouldn't just dissolve like that. So it's kind of interesting that the actual reality is not how we perceive things. We don't normally perceive things like this, even though this is, when you look at it, this is actually how our mind is, There's just this flow, a movement, a flow of insubstantial appearances, whether they be body feelings, emotions, all these perceptions, So we don't see it like that. Instead, what do? This is the source of all our problems. What do? We don't see reality as it is. What do? We string together all these momentary perceptions and make them solid. You see, one of them on their own, it would just poof. It would just dissolve. Right? What do? We connect them all together. Do you understand? Now it becomes real, it becomes solid when you stick them all together. Please reflect on this in your spare time. Is this what we do? Let me just repeat that piece, which is to say that if it was just one, if there was one real perception, right? But there isn't. It just dissolves. How do we make that insubstantial substantial? By connecting them together, by connecting these moments together into stories, into opinions, into positions. But actually it's based on deception. Because they're not like that. These perceptions are not like that. They're not solid. And so what you discover, instead of being stuck in time, now what do I mean by that? Instead of being stuck in this happened yesterday, what's going to happen tomorrow, instead of being stuck in all these connections, if instead of that, that you suddenly recognize that each moment, the only thing that's real is this moment, right? Each moment is fresh, vibrant, and awake. Each moment is like that. When you don't connect it to the previous moments or speculate about future moments, each moment is fresh, vibrant, and awake. Even dullness has this quality. Maybe, okay, we might come back to that one. So basically, just resting in a clear state. And then all perception, whether they're desirable or undesirable, all perception is experienced without any clinging. How could you cling to something that has no reality? This is actually a direct experience of our own real condition. Which is happening right now. If you want to be fancy, you could call it unfabricated clear light. There's no fabrication, it's reality. Clear, it's clear. Light, it shows you everything. It only lasts moments. It only lasts moments. It arises without effort. Like I said, don't meditate. It arises without effort. Can it be created? You cannot create this clear light. And just because you have this experience, it doesn't mean that the habits of our lifelong habits are going to cease immediately. They're not. Just because you have this experience, direct experience of the nature of reality, it's just, for the moment, it's just a momentary experience. And it's really only through familiarization with our natural state that we gain freedom from our habits, from our suffering. So how do you do it? I said you can't create it, but how do you do it? You see? How do you do it? How do you practice this? So, by the way, all of this right now is meditation. You're being in this free and open, natural state. Just hearing words. Just free. So how do we do it? How do we practice? So the greatest, well, one of the greatest. I don't know whether he or Nushil Kempo is the greatest. Tulku Organ. He's not bad. He's pretty good. Okay, but one of the things he used to use as a direct introduction or pointing out instruction was this 4 phrases: look, see, remain, liberate. But let me just kind of elaborate it a little bit. So, how do you practice this? You look at your mind. Just what we've been doing. You look at your mind. You recognize what it is. You don't have to overlay any notions and ideas. You look at your mind. You recognize what it is. And you rest effortlessly. And you let all those perceptions dissolve by themselves. So, look, recognize, rest, and allow the release. Nothing extraordinary. It's just this natural feeling you have right now. Nothing extraordinary. So when do you do this? Whenever you remember, And the more you do it, the more it just becomes a natural reflex. You just look at your mind, you recognize what it is, you rest, there's no effort, and you let everything dissolve by itself. And especially the more you do it, it actually becomes a reflex, so that especially in challenging moments, like you have a heart attack, look at the mind, recognize what it is, rest without effort, and let everything dissolve by itself. It's extraordinary, you know. Freedom is just one moment away. So, you know, just to continue on from what I said a little bit earlier, you know, like I'm not here to convert anybody to anything. I'm just here to share my personal discovery of some of these things. That's all. If people are interested, you know, if it's helpful, wow, that's good, you know. If you're not interested, if it's not helpful, you know, it's no, like I don't have a problem at all. I have no problem at all. You know, this is not about what's the word for it, recruiting people or, you know, anything like that. I'm fine, you know, I'm fine. Okay, we call a halt at that.